Hey everybody, welcome to Silver Nest Homeschooling with Elizabeth Haslett. And last week I talked about how we could turn any book you wanted into curriculum using the 5 in a row method, and what a blessing that was to us. And I used a book as an example, but today what I want to do is kind of a reverse book haul. We own all these books. These are books that were used for our 5 in a row idea of using the exact same picture book 5 days in a row to study all of the subjects. Now, while we did this for the early elementary, so think preschool, kindergarten, first grade, second grade, a little bit in third grade, we always kept a math going at the same time, consistency, and we always kept a reading phonics program as well. So this was kind of our introduction to unit studies, and I really liked the curriculum, but I felt like there were some areas and things, because the person who made it, she created it with her kids in mind and where they lived. I wanted to add in some other things, and also I found the curriculum, the book itself, to be short for an entire year, which is how I like to do it, year 1, year 2, year 3, for the 3 years that they had. And so I added other books to make it the full. So some of these books are actually from the curriculum, and she gave us a bunch of really great ideas. And some of the books are books that I pulled in myself that I wanted our kids to go through. I'll try to remember which is which. Also, another caveat, this is more of a hands-on parent creating process. This is not an open and go, in the sense of, if you want to take your kids to the beach, you're going to have to plan that. If you want to teach them about any of the science concepts, you're going to need to pull in all those things yourself. Like my sister, she did one on Jessie Bear, What Will You Wear? And she actually made a bear and made clothes, and the kids, preschoolers, put the clothes on. Now, she just loved it so much, making all the things. I simplified it down a bit. There are some free lap books. There are some other parents online that have done this concept that you can look up what they've done. So you don't have to invent every wheel, but it was something that I really enjoyed, but I didn't go to that extreme. I usually stayed with stuff that was easily, plentifully available around the house, especially Lego and Play-Doh. So with that all in mind, if you are looking for something super simple, open and go, this is not that. If you're looking for something open and go in the sense of, like, it's cheap, it's already in your house, it's teaching the concepts you want them to learn, it's simple in the layout and format, then this is great in that respect. Or if you want just short unit studies, we only talk about one thing for a week. All right, so getting to the books, we have The Little Engine That Could, which I've read since I was a little kid, and it's really about perseverance. Very old book. They keep reprinting it, good for them, about an engine that is not designed to go over the mountain and help all the boys and girls, but decides that she thinks she can. So if you're working with a child with perseverance challenges, that's a great one. Also, Perseverance, Whistle for Willie. This is my childhood copy of this book, and I just was fascinated by Willie learning how to whistle, and especially since I struggled learning how to whistle when I was a kid, and how proud I was when I accomplished it. So again, this first pile is probably pretty young, preschool, first grade, second grade, maybe second grade, but more like first grade, kindergarten, preschool. All right. Caps for sale, 50 cents a cap. This is an old story. This is part of the 5 in a row curriculum. I'm so glad for 5 in a row helping us discover this book about a man who sells caps, and my children can still quote this book. I think this would be a great play to act out as theater background, but yeah, highly recommend Caps for Sale. A House for Hermit Crab. This one, of course, we talked about the beach, we talked about homes that we live in, we talked about decorating our homes, and all of the animals that Eric Carle introduces that come to live on top of this hermit crab shell. I love Eric Carle. He is one of my heroes when it comes to art and concepts and books. His idea was that not everybody has a lot of money, so if he could make his books to feel interactive and interesting, so they almost had a toy and a book at the same time, and that's how he came up with The Very Hungry Caterpillar. But I also really love all of his other books, including A House for Hermit Crab. One of the very first books I bought back when my son was too young to do school, in faith that we're going to do read it to him one day, is The Oxcart Man. I even have a giant library copy of this book, and I love this book so much. It's all about a dad who takes everything and goes and sells it in Portsmouth. So you have a lot of history going on. You have all of the things that go throughout a year. So he starts by selling everything, and then he goes home, and then it shows how the whole family worked together to make everything that he takes back out to sell. And so it's just a sweet story. We've loved it forever, and I highly recommend reading this to your kids, even if you don't do 5 in a row. All right, back to Ted Rand. The other video I made on 5 in a row was all about a Ted Rand book, but this one is The Sun, the Wind, and the Rain, and it is all about the weather and the mountains and erosion, and it's just a really simple book. Again, we're talking first, second, third graders, maybe third graders, but more your basics. See, you can tell. I kind of can tell by the amount of words that are on a page what age it's going for, but yeah, this one may be for second more because of the concepts, but yeah, we really like this one too. Blueberries for Sal. This is a 5 in a row book, all about a little girl and a little bear that go up the mountain to pick blueberries. Great for studying the New England area, great for seasons. Again, it's kind of about going out and collecting things and how similar she is and her mom making jam. The artwork in this is absolutely lovely. Of course, I love Robert McCloskey. He also did Make Way for Ducklings. That one is another 5 in a row as well. All right, The Story of Ferdinand, one of the older books from 5 in a row, but also one of my favorite classic childhood books, all about a bull that doesn't really want to go fight. You may have seen the cartoon. The artwork in here is super fun. Robert Lawson is another one that the gal really liked from 5 in a row, and you can see the different artwork in here is so fun. She does a great job teaching about this one. We use corks, floating, what real corks are made of, cork trees, that kind of thing. Lot to pull from for this book. This one was a gift from my sister-in-law, Song of the Swallows, one of her favorite childhood books, and we fell in love with it. It's about when the swallows come back to Capistrano in California, and again, it deals with the birds, the traveling, the change of seasons. We were able to study the habitat of the swallows, and also when you're being patient, that kind of thing. So really great book. Love the artwork too. We also really like Tomie dePaola, and this one is The Legend of the Indian Paintbrush, which is great because it's all about a man who goes and finds, trying to paint the sunset and different things that he uses, so we actually can make paint out of the natural things around us, as well as practice our watercolor, seasons again, and life calling. What are your careers? We talked about careers with this one. What kind of thing do you think that you're called to do? Another Ted Rand. So I probably would have read this one along. I did actually read this one along with the other one I recommended, but this one's all about water's way, how water goes up and down. So fiction, nonfiction, both of them are open for the 5 in a row. But yeah, this one is really, really fun just to see how water moves. In the Pacific Northwest where we live, there's a lot of rain and a lot of water. So it's a good subject to study, learn about, see how it works. And then we have Jan Brett, my other favorite author. If I grow up and make art like Jan Brett, I will achieve my goal. I will never make art like Jan Brett. Everybody's their own artist, but I really love her work. This one's really fun. We studied South America, all of the animals that come and take in protection inside this umbrella that this little boy loses. And then you get to learn about all the different animals, and there's anything to do with South America, anything to do with the food from there. This is a great jumping off point. All right, one that I didn't know about until it was given to me by my in-laws was City Chicken. This one is really blew my mind because I grew up in the country where we had chicken coops around us all the time, but this one is all about a chicken that lives in the city and goes out and visits those big giant egg factories, and the difference between her life in the city and what everybody thinks her life in the city is like versus in the egg factories. And so really think it's hilarious. Henrietta is really fun. Highly recommend this one. Tiki Tiki Timbo, again, another childhood favorite of mine. I actually memorized this in college and told it for my storytelling class. I really love the artwork in here, but also the sense of hilarity of this long name that the first child is named in the short name, and the challenge of trying to save his brother, but his name is so long he has a hard time saying it. But they do save the brother at the end, and it's the parents who learn a lesson in this one, so the kids always get a kick out of that. Oh yeah, that one's China, and then this one is Japan, the Magic Fan, which we've taken the cover off because it's been that loved for that long, but it has a fan that spins on each page. Again, this is about an inventor, a dreamer, somebody who comes up with things that end up helping and saving his village, even when they don't look like they're going to. Great jumping off point about tsunamis, Japan, your calling, your career, that kind of thing. So, The Bee Tree. I love Patricia Polacco. This one is super sweet. This little girl is tired of learning to read, and so her family member decides to take her out to try to find bees, and they end up, the entire village chases down this bee as a group in order to go and find the bee. So you've got your pollinization, your science is your bees, you've got the artwork, of course, the story of who Patricia Polacco is, all the kinds of art that she made and why, stories that she wrote, Jewish culture, and the challenge of learning to read. And everybody struggles. It's good. All right. We also have Stephen Kellogg. Yay, Stephen Kellogg. So funny. Again, my childhood. But this book I didn't read when I was a kid. This was another gift from my in-laws. The Rattlebag Picnic. Absolutely one of our favorites. They love to go as a family up the mountains and explore. And this horrible volcano comes and they have to figure out how to get out there, and Granny saves the day. But it's super fun. The beginning, they decide they can either have a very large family or a small family. And by an old Rattlebang, they go for a small family. And the artwork is just hilarious. I just love his work. And the kids really love this one. They always are begging their dad to reread it. And my final one for you today is another childhood favorite of mine. George and Martha is a series that is nice for early readers to read themselves, but this is a short story of one fine day. You can tell it's all smeared and stained because it's mine. And that's the beauty of the 5 in a row. If you had childhood books that you absolutely love, that you hung on, or you go and find at the library, you can do this process. So for this one, of course, we studied hippos, which is one of my daughter's favorite animals, how dangerous they are. They're actually super dangerous, more dangerous than lions to humans. We also learned about friendship. We learned about getting along. They do some fun pranks, so jokes. A joke book would be appropriate. Practicing reading, of course, for the older kids, meaning like maybe third, second. Icky Story, The Big Scare. So lots of feelings, talking about when you're working with friends and like what scares you, what doesn't scare you, that kind of thing. And also just how to work through friendships. George and Martha are friends, and they have challenges, and with their friendship as they learn to be better friends, but all in a very, very funny way. So those are my recommendations for books that we own, that we've kept all these years, even though my youngest is now in 6th grade and my oldest is graduating this year. These are books that I highly recommend. Again, 5 in a row is great for if you want something cheap, because it's all the things you already have around the house. Those are the formative years where you're trying to help them to understand their world that they live in. If I was to go and teach it again, I would definitely make sure that there were books about the Pacific Northwest, that there are books about the food that they're eating, and then the culture that they're in, and then maybe some exotic food that they've not known before, as well as animals, weather. You're looking at all of those hands-on, actual, tangible, understandable, something they can touch, feel, experience. Science, math, history, social studies, geography, all those things. You're not really trying to go for the more abstract. This is very much the things that they are currently dealing with. Learning to ride bicycles, learning to count their coins, things like that. So anyway, I hope those helped. Hope you enjoyed my book haul. Of course, I own many more books than this, but these are the ones and the authors and illustrators that we've just loved so much over the years. You guys have a great day. You're doing a great job, and I will see you soon. Thanks. Bye.